Welcome to Mastering Music with Matthew. Today, music teachers react to Floor Jansen's first vocal masterclass, Don't Stress Your Jaw. That's right, and back with me today is Jennifer Valaquette. How have you been?
Very good. How about you?
Well, I'm so grateful to have you back on here. Are you ready to react?
Mhm.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring it right on.
Hello everybody and welcome to this very first masterclass, an online masterclass. I know many of you have been asking for real masterclasses, lessons, tips and advices about vocal techniques. I don't really have the time anymore to teach as I used to do, but I'm happy to tell you a little bit more about my experiences with singing. Vocal techniques for modern singing has been developing throughout the years a lot. If I look back to how things were when I studied, in comparison to nowadays, there's so much more happening and so many more methods out there that are really, really good. And I kind of feel that my knowledge about it is slightly outdated because it's 20 years ago that I actually studied. But I've been singing, well, quite a bit. And I'd like to tell you a little bit more about how I sing, how I warm up my voice, which exercises work for me. That doesn't mean they work for you, but I can tell you how it works for me. And from there you can see what works for you, because every voice is different. Every person is different. Your reach might be different. These things I cannot change, but I can tell you a little bit more. I still really think that having a teacher in real life is the best thing. However, you can read every method in the world. You can watch a lot of YouTube videos about how it's done. But we on YouTube cannot be your talking mirror. And with that, I mean a teacher that can see and hear what you're doing when you're doing it. Because you might learn something new and you want to try it out, but really have the self-reflection to understand whether you did it right or not, or what you need to do to get it right if you didn't. That comes from a teacher, which I call the talking mirror in the room. In this masterclass, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about basics, the basic vocal techniques. Without them, nothing really happens. If you don't breathe right, if you don't give the right support with the right muscles, if you have a tension in your mouth or your jaw, if the position of your body isn't good, if there's not enough twang, nothing's going to happen. I've been teaching for over 10 years, I should say 15 years actually, where I've actively been teaching people. And throughout those years, I very often encountered problems that had to go back to the basics. I cannot sing that high note. No, it's because one of the basic techniques aren't covered enough for you to actually make that note sound good and easy. I cannot sing long notes. Probably has something to do with the way you breathe, the way you activate your muscles. I cannot sing low. I cannot reach a vibrato. All those things you cannot start coloring before you've mapped out the outlines of your painting, so to speak. And it's important that you take your time to learn these things. Have a little patience with yourself. Don't start here. Settle yourself for the time being with here until you can build up to here and so on and so forth. It's a little bit boring, and of course you can still just go ahead every now and then and just do it anyway, because it should be fun. If it's not fun, don't do it. For me, singing has always been fun. It's still my biggest hobby. It's my biggest passion, and I became very nerdy when it came to techniques. But you don't have to be that to enjoy singing. It needs to come from you and from your heart and from the story you want to tell. And the techniques are just tools, a way to get something done. And I'd love to help you with a little bit of those tools. So what is breathing technique? You breathe in, you breathe out. Yeah, we do that every day. So how hard could it be? The thing is that with regular breathing, it is an automatic kind of thing that indeed you do, but you breathe in to breathe out immediately. When you talk like I do now, I also only use a little bit of my air to talk, and I don't just breathe out. So that means that breathing in and out is different with singing as well, because you don't want to use all the air at once. You keep it in and you give a little bit, you give a little bit, you give a little bit, to keep the vocal cords vibrating, because that's what's happening. The air passes through your throat and makes them vibrate. And everything around that small little area of those fragile vocal cords should give the go to do that. And the right breathing technique and all those basics give that go. So when you breathe in a lot, you build up a lot of pressure. All that pressure needs to be controlled by muscles, the right muscles. There are a lot of muscles that are used with singing that don't do anything for breathing support and just make you very tired. Stressing the muscles is also a technique on its own, because you don't want to just power. You want to kind of build it up. You want to be able to power throughout the whole sentence that you're singing. Maybe at the end of the sentence, you're going to have that high note, so you don't want to give away all your power all at once. The same with the air, of course. So the control over the muscles, the right ones, is very important. It's quite a detailed thing, and there are many ways to roam, you could say. So there are many different kinds of exercises, and maybe 9 out of 10 doesn't work for you, but that one really does. So it's kind of testing for everybody to see what works. I'm not going to go through all of that today. That's going to be for another masterclass, because once again, getting the basics right is going to do you a lot for everything you want to do afterwards. So good breathing, a good technique of the right muscles for breathing support is vital. Now, if you think of yourself as an instrument, if you could compare yourself to a guitar, for instance, the strings on a guitar are like your vocal cords, and the body of a guitar makes the acoustics, and so does our body. The chest and the head, everything here is determining how the sound is going to be, and we can fine tune that by the position of our mouth and tongue and where we're going to use the areas, especially with classical singing. That's vital. And of course, there are a lot of different kinds of styles, hence the different kinds of sounds. There's so much you can do with with this area. It's almost bizarre. But one golden rule is that you should never stress your jaw. A lot of jaws naturally tend to help out by stressing a lot, especially when the high note comes, or when it comes, things start to get difficult. A lot of jaws naturally want to come forward. I haven't figured it out why, but it must be a natural way to cut. Okay, there it comes, and you start to stress it like that. Whether you sing classical or something else, don't stress it. There are different positions needed for different kinds of sounds, once again, but it should never be stressed. The lips should not be stressed, and the lower jaw should never come in front of. So you can always have a little exercise if you think you're doing it, by putting a finger behind your upper teeth actually, if you have several. I fortunately do. And try and sing. I know it looks a little bit funny, and when you have makeup on, it doesn't get any better, but that is a little tip I can give you. As I probably made you feel, there's a little bit more to it that I will come back to in another episode, another masterclass. This is that much for the basics for now. Thank you so much for watching this very first masterclass. In the second masterclass, we'll be looking a little bit more into this breathing technique and breathing support, where we'll be doing some of the exercises that have always been working for me. Once again, these masterclasses will come out of my experience, things that work for me. I still advise you to look for your talking mirror, your teacher in your area that can help you go from A to B. I recommend you to train in front of a mirror, even if you cannot find a teacher. I know it's a luxury, but training in front of a mirror, even if it doesn't talk back, still makes that you can see what you're doing, not only feel, because everything with singing happens inside of us, but we can still see if the belly's actually working, we can see if the jaw is not stressing, we can see if we're not lifting that. If we're here, we're going to go through those things we're going to be focusing on, but practice and get used to a certain training routine, not only to warm up your voice, but also to warm up the head, basically, the mind. Go from whatever you were doing to I'm going to sing now mode, both physically as mentally. Focus on what you're doing. And if you repeat the same routines, you kind of program yourself that way. So it's on one side that muscle memory, but also mentally good way to, okay, I don't need to think about whatever it was that you were thinking about. Now I'm just going to focus on, okay, what am I doing? I'm breathing, and the vocal techniques. Because from there, you're so much more ready to actually go into that song and trigger those, work on those things that you wanted to work on. So that's my advice for now. This was the first masterclass. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next.
Very cool.
I think it was great. She had a lot of good ideas for just opening up the vocals and stuff. I mean, yeah, I'd want to take lessons from her. I like her style.
Definitely.
I'd love to hear. Did you notice at the end of the video she did "Let It Go" from Frozen?
Right. I was going to suggest that you check that out because, like, she has that voice, and it, she did a really, really good job on that cover. So I think you'd enjoy it.
I just do that song karaoke. I went and put it on YouTube for myself, but I want to hear her do it for sure though.
So let's talk about this lesson, because this is the valuable thing. I agree with everything she said, of course. The don't stress your jaw is the thing I really want to focus on, because that's the main topic of the lesson. And the little exercise where you can put your finger there. That's not something I heard of before, and I think this is really cool. I'm gonna mess with this. I'm gonna practice it in the mirror, like she was saying, and put my finger there and see, like, with my eyes whether I have been moving my jaw forward, and then bring that attention to feeling. Am I physically tightening my jaw now? Right.
I want to try that as well too, because I feel like it could help open things more too.
Definitely. And if you protrude your jaw forward, it feels weird. If it doesn't feel right, and inside there, if you move these bones forward, you're constricting your airspace. And you're putting pressure on your face muscles too. They're pulling your jaw forward. It's just the whole thing. It just doesn't feel right. So, totally agree. To work on that, on the relaxed jaw. Never reach for a note. I completely agree with that. Never, ever, 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 ever reach for a note.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I've tried that before and regretted it later because my throat would get sore or something, So.
Yeah. So remember, if it's a high note, that's okay. It's meant to be high. So float the high note. Don't try to reach for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that the jaw thing, I think that's a symptom of reaching for it. Not the only symptom, but that's one symptom of reaching for notes.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you relax, you
can
do a lot more with your voice than when it's tight.
Yeah, so I want to try what she said with the finger thing. I'm going to try that later too.
Absolutely.
What happens?
Thank you, everybody, for joining me for Music Teachers React to Floor Jansen of Nightwish's incredible first vocal class. It was really fun. I enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time on Mastering Music with Matthew. Thank you very much for joining me on Matthew's Music Lesson Studio. Please share this video, like, and subscribe. And did you know that you can get online music lessons from me on Zoom? I recorded MP4 for you, and you can then review that lesson forever. You can have it so we can go over it, you can practice along with it, and then that way, no matter what, you can relax and enjoy the lesson. So please, MatthewsMusicLessonStudio.com. I'll see you guys next time on Matthew's Music Lesson Studio.